if you guys need a refresher on who Bhad Bhabie is, her real name is Danielle Bregoli, and she became well known after her appearance on Dr. Phil, known as the Cash Me Outside girl. And, you know, we definitely caught her outside because she has just recently posted her insanely high OnlyFans earnings online, and it's in the tens of millions. Are you ready for it?
I'm ready for it.
She made $57 million on OnlyFans in her last earnings statement, going back to when she started it in 2021.
So they're literally cashing her outside.
Literally the day that she turned 18
Yep.
is when she started her OnlyFans. And I would just like to add, she started the OnlyFans and had content already up on it on her 18th birthday, which almost guarantees that was not content of an 18-year-old. Regardless of any of that speculation, she has made a total of $57 million on OnlyFans since she started it at 18 years old. And she posted the receipts.
How much was it a month again?
A month?
Yeah, the subscription.
Subscriptions, it doesn't say. It just says the total.
Okay, it doesn't say what it costs to look at pictures of Bhad Bhabie.
I mean, I guess I could look up what her OnlyFans is, but I don't really want to see that kind of thing right now. And it was shocking when she first started the OnlyFans because she made already a whopping $1 million within the first 6 hours of starting that OnlyFans, with possibly a bunch of content of her underage on the website. But it's really sickening. And I say that not just because I'm against OnlyFans and sex work in general. That's always my take. I say that especially because she was introduced to the public eye at 13 as a troubled child with her mother on Dr. Phil. And it was staged as an intervention in her life for being so ill-behaved and misguided as a child that she needed to be publicly humiliated on national television over it and then sent to the ranch. Thank you.
We have tonal issues.
Tonal issues.
Again, I don't know what her content is. Does she do nudes or does she just do lewds? Does she not get naked?
No idea. I have not subscribed to her OnlyFans, so I'm not sure, but I'm going to assume that she has gone all the way. But you know, she entered the public consciousness at the age of 13.
It was a troubled 13.
As a potty-mouthed, troubled child who needed a full intervention to get her back on the right path. That obviously didn't work because she continued down the same path.
Yellow Flash is in the chat. He says, send the Simps to Ukraine.
Instead of cash.
Instead of cash.
Yeah, that would help, wouldn't it?
Yep.
They're only going to send their cash to Bhad Bhabie and Pokimane, unfortunately. But yeah, it's especially creepy that a lot of the people who subscribed to her OnlyFans the first day she started it were people that saw her still in the same light as when they were first introduced to her.
Their formative image of her as a child.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's almost like there's a sick obsession with seeing the deflowering of a child, basically, in the public eye. I know that's kind of sick to say that way, but it's really, I'm saying it because that's the truth. Like, she says she's aware that most of the people who subscribe to her on OF are like married dads.
Yeah.
And this is the line of work that she has chosen for herself because she doesn't believe that she is capable of anything better.
Unfortunately, money talks, and this is just one of those things that for a certain amount of people, you know, who have that type of, she kind of hit that early trifecta of public relevancy, bad behavior, viral moments, that the money, it's too good, it's too easy, it's too tempting not to do. And the average person these days, now look, if you have religious views that put you against this type of behavior, or even just moral views, outside of any type of religious conviction. That's one thing. But most people are going to take well, you know what? None of my business. And that's
as long as it's not hurting anyone, even though it most definitely is hurting millions of people.
And that's then you have to get into a discussion about the definition of hurt in what way, because
But if there's no consensus to be reached on what hurt or harm is, that's a stupid principle for deciding whether something is ethical. But that's another conversation entirely. I just see this pattern over and over and over again, not just with a social media star, but people like Miley Cyrus. There's just an obsession with seeing the innocent get defiled and desecrated in the public eye and debased, and seeing what once was a pretty innocent young girl turn into a debaucherous, ornery slut.
You could say that the same thing is happening with JoJo Siwa right now, just failing at it because she's more like...
It's gotten to the point where she's imposing it on herself.
Yep.
You don't even need to do any of the work once you've convinced all of the young girls to do it to themselves. Like, I know I'm probably taking this a lot more seriously than most people who are talking about Bhabie's OnlyFans, but that's just where my convictions lie. I am strongly against this, and I think it's absolutely horrific that she's gone down this trajectory since she was a literal child who deserved to be disciplined, not humiliated in front of who knows how many hundreds of millions of people saw that clip of her at 13 years old putting on a fake black scent. I mean, it was meant to humiliate her, not to, kick her butt in action, not to shape her up and get her into line, but really just to kick her while she was already down.
That doesn't work anymore now, because anything that goes online or anything that ends up on social media or on television is liable to be exploited for that person's personal gain later.
Yes, and that's why Dr. Phil has been accused of exploiting his guests before.
But here's the thing, that's the give and take, right? Like, that person goes through that, they have a right to use that to their advantage later. Like, you don't get to just be humiliated and then accept humiliation forever. This is a unique card you've been given to play later on. The difference is, for women, it's almost always in these cases through this form of sexual exploit. You can make the argument that what the Haktua chick is doing is the opposite of that. That she said she will not do that, and she started
taking the power into her own hands.
Well, she started there with a lewd comment and turned it on its face and said she's not going to send you feet pics and she's not going to do OnlyFans. So there's a path to do it. It's probably a lot harder. It's going to take more work, but it's there.
Like, I wouldn't say refraining from showing your coochie to the entire internet makes you a role model, but you're right about Haktua. Like, that, at least someone can have their viral moment and not use it for something degenerate. Even though the original clip was like vulgar, right? But especially in this case, Danielle Bregoli has made $57 million off of OnlyFans so far.
Yeah.
Once you've gotten to that level of wealth off of sex work, if you're going to call it sex work, off of digital prostitution, there's no endpoint in sight. There's no point you can get to where you will eventually say, okay, I've made enough money. I'm done now. There's no point of return. Like, she has enough money that she could retire herself and her children at this point. But she's not going to do it in all likelihood.
She's like, retire in this economy?
Yeah. And unfortunately, at the same time as all of this is happening, she recently shared footage of her ex-boyfriend, the father of her children, beating the living daylights out of her on a Ring camera. And she says, thankfully, she is not with him anymore. But
I think I saw something recently that they're back together. But I could have.
I hope that they're not.
That could be fake news. I didn't look into that too deeply.
I just saw TMZ reported that she disputed the claim that she was staying with him, and thankfully she's not, because kids are involved. We're not going to show. We don't have to show the video. It's just it's the Diddy video all over again, basically.
Here's another point of discussion for this. What's interesting more than anything is if you look at any of these websites that cover a lot of internet culture, whether it's something like Lad Bible, some of the stories that they run very frequently, several times a year, is like, I'm this person. I joined OnlyFans and made this much money in my first. They do a lot of stories that tout the amount of money that you can make doing stuff like this, which does prey on people in financial situations who look to go into areas like this. But more often than not, the thing that I always say is the average girl ends up being more akin to a SoundCloud rapper than Bhad Bhabie. They don't make the money they think they're going to make. It's their failed venture in digital prostitution. But here's the thing: if you are if you're a hypersexual person and you're a voyeur and you like making this type of content, that's one thing. You can make the claim that later on down the line it's going to cost you your soul. That's not my place to say. But if you're not that type of person and you have to talk yourself in to doing stuff like this, the swift negative outcome is far more obvious and hits you far harder than somebody who just happens to be a sexual person that doesn't have a problem doing this type of stuff. You can make all the comments you want about whether those people are doing the right thing. They exist. And that's whatever. But there's a lot of people that get pushed into it that are not that have talked themselves into doing stuff like that.
Well, what you're talking about is that type of person. The term for it is being high or low in sociosexuality. Okay. If you're a woman, it's very rare to be high in what is called sociosexuality.
Well, how rare
it is? Way more common for men to be high in that trait because of their mating strategy. So I would say almost universally, the women who are engaging in sex work, on the whole, whether it's street prostitution or digital, they are talking themselves into it every single time. They are forcing themselves to not have that disgust reflex. It's ingrained in women to not be able to do that. And usually if they are high in a trait of, exhibitionism or hypersexuality, it is often a response to trauma.
Well, yeah, I'm not claiming that there
It's just not the way to, process that anyway. We're probably getting way outside of bounds right now, but I just, specifically in the case of Danielle Bregoli, I find it very sad because, of course she is accountable for her decisions now that she is an adult and a mother, but at the time that she was thrust into the public eye, she had no idea what the consequences would be, and I don't think she deserved to be put in that situation.
Things could have looked very different if the world hadn't evolved into what it is today digitally. So.
Definitely.
Thanks for watching. Listen to full episodes of Pop Culture Crisis on Spotify.
Keep up with us on social media and make sure you subscribe and ring that bell so you never miss the show. Bye, guys.